I'm a broad anti-realist. I was just taking conditional error theory because that guy was non-cognitivist. Anyways, what's the proposition you're defending?
I could defend moral
Meta
realism, but I
ethics.
wasn't interested in that. But if you want me
Okay, so
to,
you're defending moral
my
realism.
wait,
Okay, what's the argument?
hold on. My more realist view. I'm currently at least not too sure. I could defend any position you want me to, though.
Well,
But
I
my
don't.
meta ethics
I
are really
look
not
free. I don't want the
very.
filler. I just want the argument. Okay, so what's the argument?
And I want you to understand my position. If you don't want to understand it, that is completely fine. I don't
Well,
really care for that. But I'm telling you what my
you
position
weren't
is.
making me understand shit. You were just saying you don't know. You're just saying you're confused. You're confessing your confusion to me.
What is the
How
thing
is
that I
that getting
said?
clarity on the view, retard?
What is the thing I said?
You said you
Don't
weren't
dodge
sure.
that.
You said you weren't
No, that
sure
isn't
on
what
your
I
view.
said. So that's a tracking error number
Wait,
one. And
okay,
that is
so we can
completely
just ask
fine.
the
Mercury,
audience.
that is
So
completely
Rizan,
fine.
we
So I
Rizan,
don't care for what Rizan has to say
Rizan,
because
yo
me and you are
Rizan,
debating.
yo
So
Rizan,
You
Mercury,
guys just
the
want
issue that you are
moderation. We
running
calm
into.
down.
Oh
yo
wait,
Rizan.
I'm not on my
Wait,
mic. Give me a
you
second.
Yeah,
guys, you guys just like
yeah.
want moderation. Yeah, this is mine. Just like
Okay, we might want moderation.
We might have to do it because Mercury is passing out, but it's completely fine.
Yeah.
all right. Or just tell me if y'all need to like just a moderator.
Yeah, it's been a
To
minute
make sure
since I
this
asked
debate
about
goes.
you, by the way. Wait, can you moderate?
Nigga, it is 5:30 in the morning.
So that's a no. Okay. Rizan, can you moderate?
Yeah, I can, but I don't have perms.
Okay, I'll give you perms. Wait, doesn't the VIP role have perms?
No.
Like, you should have VC. Okay. Hold on, let me give you quasi-admin.
Quasi-admin has like every perm aside from kicking and banning and changing channels.
So it doesn't have any of the good roles. I mean, any of, like, the important shit.
Yeah. It can time people out, I guess.
We're free. After you've done with Mercury, we can talk about your meta-ethical view. Because, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah. After you deal with the
I'm
Okay.
more
labor.
of those three lists. So,
Yeah. Alright.
I'm not really a more realist currently, but I could defend it. That's completely fine.
so
Okay,
I
yeah,
am a
what's the
robust realist.
You're
Okay.
robust. Okay, sure. Yeah, Mercury. So, do you want me to defend it? Do you not want me to defend it? What's up?
Yeah, I asked for the argument.
Okay. I can just send it in side chat. Give me a second.
Okay, let's take a peek at the side
I'm
chat.
anticipating this. I'm very eager.
No, this is in Serbian. Give me a sec.
But
But
why is
this
this
nigga has
argument in
Serbian
Serbian?
arguments.
No. I have them in Serbian. I just have to translate them. Give me 1 second. Is that fine?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. PQ not LY. Look, this is so valid. I think he needs his own infantry.
Oh my god. Okay.
We call it universal instantiation.
Wait, give me a second.
Imagine Yugi, except instead of a Y, I had a P. So, like, Poogie.
Oogie.
Yeah. Poogie.
Wait, I might change solo to nigga. Like, I might just for the fun of it. Instead of solo, it's gonna be nigga. So premise one, nigga.
Why?
Premise two, Snow is white. Conclusion, nigga, and Snow is white. It would just be funny.
Interesting game design choice there.
It would make like the audience laugh in like a potential debate.
Yeah, how much words is this nigga translating?
And then like
Too many.
Divinity would like have to say Divinity would have to say nigga, and like he'd get cancelled. He'd
The
have to
ultimate
concede.
trap. Yeah, it's the ultimate debate strategy.
When is
At first infinity, you will get like 100 niggas there, but I'm not gonna lie.
Bro, the debate is gonna be ass.
It
No,
would just
it's
be
gonna
like
be speed
it,
generation.
it would be like first 3 minutes like they're cordial, and then like 50 minutes, the 50 minutes after that it's gonna be aping at each other.
I'll just send this, and then I cannot give you the P1 for this. I'll just give you an explanation because I cannot translate this many words. I'm sorry. But yeah, this is for what I can translate.
Okay,
If it takes, yeah, it's not that.
Mm,
I feel like I'm Gucci Man in 2006.
it takes the same number to also exist under something.
what do
What
you take
if you
norm?
just
What
evolve?
is what is normative strength?
Normative strength, like force, motivations, normative force slash like motivations, or like normative odds, like how strong is the should, how strong is the shouldn't, and like your feelings towards the things, like how you're motivated towards something.
Okay, and like in
I
what
don't have a
like
specific definition. I could get it for you, but if you understand it, it's fine.
okay, like what do you mean by should there?
I mean, just like you're supposed to. I don't have like a specific semantic reduction like
Like
that.
do you count for it in terms of reasons?
Like, what do you mean, like count in terms of reasons? Like, are they
Yeah, like
is motivation dependent on reasons? Is it a reason? If that's the thing, yeah, sure, I'll
okay,
follow that.
so and are these epistemic reasons? Are these like moral reasons? What type of reasons are they?
Well, I do take some account of like CIG, like the companions in guild shit from Terence Kunnell. So I do believe that there's a unconditional relationship between like epistemic odds and moral odds. But I think that is like a
What do you mean by
wholly
that?
different discussion.
So like
Um,
you think that
yeah, what's up? What did you say?
some
I'm sorry.
do you think that something is an epistemic ought if and only if it's a moral ought?
Oh no, not in that type of biconditional relationship. I don't think it's dependent in that sense. I don't think maybe I should have phrased it differently. But what I mean by biconditional is one. I don't think you would understand what one is without the other. I think they share pretty much the same fundamental properties. The same like they're the same like type of like I cannot say normative motivations, but it's just like it's like the same like normative. They're a part of like a same
Booty,
normative
booty,
like
booty,
group.
booty.
Well, I
But
agree.
yeah,
I agree they're both normative, but I'm just asking you, like, are these specifically epistemic reasons or moral reasons?
I just told you. I
Blah
mean,
blah
Well,
blah blah
no,
blah blah
you
blah blah
didn't.
I'm not too sure.
You actually didn't tell
blah
me if
blah blah
they're
blah blah
epistemic
blah
or moral
blah blah.
reasons.
I think
It's like,
Rizan is kind of over talking you with some like
Ringanguli guli
very
guli
very
wata
weird
ringangu
sounds.
ringangu.
Yugi man, but this nigger, bro. Holy fuck. But yeah, what did you say though?
yeah. So, yes or no, is it the case that you're using moral reasons here?
More reasons reference to what?
Reasons in terms of like what you morally should, or like what morally is the case, for instance.
And no, I'm asking you, what are you as? What do you think more reasons here are? What do you think what are you referencing in the argument?
I'm not referencing like something that's a part of the argument. I'm asking you if that's like the meaning of the term in the argument, or if that's like the sort of meaning you're using. And by moral, like if you want to know
If
what
it
I
takes
mean
the
by
same
moral
normative
reason,
strength, then okay. If that's what you're asking me for, then I mean, I think it would be mainly related to epistemic odds. But it's not for the reason like it's not probably for the reason you think. It's just like how it's not even like epistemically. It's just like how well you're motivated to do to believe in something.
Okay, so
like
it's in
how
terms of
much
like
motivation it takes you, but like it's mainly like a feeling in that terms of like motivation. But what that feeling is dependent on is probably gonna be some type of reason. But I don't really think it has to be. It can be probably
so
something like intuition. It can be something else. But if that's something you would also count as a reason, that is fine.
so you're
But
saying
yeah.
epistemic reasons are dependent on feelings, or is like epistemic reasons like in terms of like their motivation they are like sort of feelings.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Again, I don't really think it matters what type of motivation it is, whether it's epistemic or moral. And I don't. Not only do I not care to engage in that, but I just think that as far as like what we're talking about and what is concerned with, what I mean there by normative force, like it takes the same type of like motivation in terms of like, well, you're probably motivated the same way or similar way at least to believe that the statement moon exists is true the same way you're motivated to believe that raping is bad is also true. Like
Okay,
if you were
and
to ask, maybe to clarify that, if there was an average Joe, right, and that doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter anything, just like a normal person, if you were to ask them, and if you want me to prove this intuition, I will. But I think you will understand it for like pretty normal reasons. If there was like a person and you were to ask them, statement like m- moon exists, is that statement true? They're probably gonna tell you, well, yeah, obviously it is true. Then if you were to ask them, well, is the statement raping is bad also true? They're probably gonna tell you something like, well, duh, it is true. If it's like an average Joe, obviously, who probably doesn't engage in such a deep philosophical reasoning, but they're probably gonna give you the same or similar answer, and which like it's both trivial to them, right? That's the type of motivation I'm talking about. Like they're motivated the same
Well,
way for both propositions,
they're motivated the same way. So
same or
like
similar way.
okay, and what do you mean by like, motivated the same way?
Same or similar way, just meaning like they both think it's this like it's trivially the same, like
So
it's like
they both think it's
they both
true.
think not that just not just that they think it's true, but they both think for both propositions the person is going to think that they're trivial, like an average Joe
So
would think
what do
that
you mean
it's
by
they're both
trivial?
like
So
it's
like
trivially
they're
true,
both
like
obviously true.
yeah,
Like they're
they're
both
both like,
obvious.
yeah, obviously true in that sense. They're gonna
Okay,
feel in that way. They're gonna feel the same way about those propositions. If you don't believe in that intuition, I can send you studies from 2005 and 2008. But I think that like you would probably doesn't matter what type of normative ethical framework or like meta ethical framework you take. Obviously, you would probably share the same intuition with me that like
okay.
raping would be something which is probably bad if
Yeah,
you're a normal person
why would I grant
or
that
something like that.
why would I grant that the intuitions about like this the moral statement here is in regards to like a stance independent statement? Hey, why is it the case that the statement is stance independent?
Yeah, cause it's not just like intuitions. It could be reasons. It That's like a further talk, but just for like the stance independency, I just think that like when people talk about like just take a normal descriptive fact like a moon exists. If that one if that one is stance independently true, probably you think that it is. Um, if you do believe that, you would obviously believe that in that sense it's also trivially true, right? But if you feel about it the same way for moral fact, the same way you would feel for moon exists, obviously there would be some um, form of motivation which is of the same strength or
Okay,
similar strength at least for that.
okay,
And I
basically like
think that that's just going to be trivial that it's then stance
the
independent if
cons
this one is stance independent.
okay
But
the concept I'm pointing out here is basically that whether or not the motivational strength or the epistemic strength to believe that these propositions are true is independent of whether or not the proposition is stands independently true. So whether or not the proposition is stands independently true is going to be a function or a property of the statement itself. It's not going to be something which is given to it or indicated by how much you believe in it, or like the strength in terms of like what you believe in it. And just to illustrate this point, let's have like two examples. So, for instance, the proposition that this cake is 2 inches wide, and the proposition that this cake is really tasty. Now, the latter statement is arguably subjective. Let's just stipulate it that it is subjective for the purposes of this example.
Yeah,
Now,
sure.
obviously, somebody who really likes cake, they're going to both regard these as like really obvious propositions. The first one is justified insofar as there's visual faculties are justified, and the second one is justified insofar as they actually do like the taste of cake. But it's the case that the second one about the taste of the cake is subjective, and the first one is objective, despite the
Mm-hmm.
motivational strength or the way they're
Mm-hmm.
justified. That is via like sense perception. It's the same.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just like a counterexample.
Yeah, although it's a good counterexample, before I engage with that, I just kind of need clarity. Do you think that there is such relevant data for moral propositions, the same way that there is for here, like cake and the other example, like
Well,
being
all,
wide and being tasty?
what do you mean by data?
like more data that proves that like it's subjective, because I do have for data, I do have some relevant data that shows me that it being tasty, or it being yeah, it being tasty is like something which leads to it being subjective despite the normative force you have for that, right?
Well, I agree
But
that taste is
I,
like subjective. That's like the whole point.
yeah, but the thing that I'm trying to show you is, if you have this, I'm not saying that it's going to be definitely true. I'm saying that it's going to be more probable to be true. Obviously, if you do have further relevant data for something um, like that being subjective, then obviously it doesn't matter what probability you have. It's just going to be the fact that this something isn't objective, right? Like it's the same thing for like eating pizza is better than eating shit. Obviously, you do have the normative strength for this. Obviously, like you do have some things that you would have for like stance independent facts, like convergence, reasoning, and those types of things. But you do have further relevant data which shows that this something is inherently subjective. That's why it doesn't matter the probability. You'll probably say that it's subjective. I'm
Okay.
asking you, do you have that something for moral propositions? Because if you don't, then I'll just disregard it, even though it's a good counterfactual. Or not
Well, the
counterfactual, a good
question.
counter hypothetical.
Well, the purpose of the example was just to show that motivational strength is it's like independent of whether or not the statement is stance independent or stance dependent. Now, what I'm going to ask you is why it is the case that motivational strength raises the probability of the statement being stance independent.
Uh huh. Well, that's a good question. I think that it's just like um, it's just gonna be the case that if you do agree, and hopefully you do, that if you agree that like intuitions and reasons could generally raise the probability for or not, sorry, not raise probability, I'm sorry I said that, but generally raise um or kind of not raise intuition, not raise motivations, but kind of like give you more motivation to believe in something, then I just believe that if you do have the same or similar type of motivation for moral propositions, the same way you do for like moon exists or something like that, then I do believe that if one is stance independent, the other one is going to be just more probable. It's like it's not even question begging, but it's just like super trivial in a sense that if you do take the view that motivations are dependent on intuitions and reasons. But I just think that it depends on how you take motivation and what you take motivation to be. But if you do agree to that, then it's either going to be
Motivation.
so trivial, or it's going to be so like or it's just going to be analytically true. But
Well, you're
whichever one you do take, it's completely fine.
So you're saying it's analytically true that if like two statements have similar types of like motivations or like intuitions in favor of them, and one of them is stance independent, it's the case that the other is also likely stance independent. You think that's like analytic?
It's either, I said it's either analytic, or it's just going to be super trivial if you take the view that motivations are dependent on reasons and intuitions.
Okay,
But
well,
it
it's
depends on how you
unclear.
take it. I don't know what account of motivation you take.
Yeah, it's unclear to me why it's the case that it actually raises the probability of the other statement being stance independent, given that stance independence or stance dependence is a property of the proposition rather than anything to do with like the motivational force. It's like it seems like the property is divorced from what the motivational force tells us. Like the motivational
Mm-hmm.
force gives us information, but the desired information, i.e., the information about whether or not the proposition is stance independent, that seems only resolvable by determining what the proposition exactly is. And so it doesn't seem like this is actually useful in determining whether or not the proposition is stance independent.
Okay, so there are some things there. I didn't hear the last part of what you said because I cut out, but I think I heard the most part. If you'd ask me a question or something like that, I didn't hear it.
Nigga,
But
nigga, nigga.
can Rizan shut your dumbass up? Thank you. Now, the first thing, the way that I just maybe I should have asked you before of like what kind of motivation you take, but it really doesn't matter. I just feel like I could explain like this. If you still don't understand it, I'll just give you an example. Like, if you see, if you have like a statement, like I've been taking for a while, like moon exists or something like that. You know it stands independent. You do have some normative force, or like you have some motivation, in a way that you feel about it. You have like strong feeling that it is true or something, right? And then you have another statement, which is like uh, raping or something is bad, right? And you have for that statement, you have the same or similar motivation, or like you feel about it the same way for like you felt for like moon exists, and you have some reason which leads you, or some intuition which leads you to that the same way you have for like moon exists or something like that, right? You would probably like, given like how you view those statements, you would probably say something like, well, this seems like from before, like before this was stance independent, so unless I have something, I would probably say that this is also stance independent, right? Just given the induction. But
Okay, so you're saying that there's an inductive
if,
case.
but if wait, hold on. If you're still confused on that point, I'll just give you an example in the real world to what I mean. Anyway, well, it's the same from before, therefore it kind of leads me to say this is the case. But if that's still confusing, I don't know then after that. But what did
Okay,
you want to say though?
well, yeah. If you're just
No.
saying it boils down to an inductive case, then I'm just curious about like the empirics on like how many propositions which are intuitively justified are stance independent, and how many which are intuitively justified are stance dependent. So like if you're saying that, okay, since it seems like, in this instance, when we had this like really strong motivation to believe in it, it stands independent. Therefore, when we have strong motivations to believe in this other thing, it's also likely to be stands independent. Well, that would just depend on how many propositions with the same type of motivation are stance independent and or stance independent. And to sort of give a little pushback here, it seems like the types of propositions which we'd say have like more motivation based on intuition in favor of believing it are going to be the stance dependent propositions, because the stance dependent propositions are about things which we have direct acquaintance to, i.e., our stances on the matter, or our sort of subjective feelings about it. And obviously, it's the case that the way we come to know what our subjective feelings are, or the way we come to know what our stances are, is through us having them within our mental framework. And in virtue of them being in our mental framework, it's going to be the case that like our method of sort of knowing that we have them is mostly based on the intuition that we have them. We're introspecting on the fundamental way our mind is, and we're grasping that concept.
Hmm. Well, I kind of heard a part that you said, well, it depends on how many propositions there are that are stance independent or stance dependent. I think you said something like that.
Yeah, it
Um,
depends like how many are stance independent and are motivated in the same way or similar way.
well, I don't know how many basic moral norms there are, but I would suppose that there are many. But I don't know like the full number, but like you would definitely like for like the basic norms that you would suppose that there are stance independent, like would be some like basic moral norms that fit these descriptions. Like for example, like murder is wrong, theft is wrong, raping is wrong. I don't know, like torture is wrong. I don't like slavery is wrong or some shit like that. Like I don't know how many of those like propositions there are. Suppose that there are some many, but you could also say some like even if there are some which you feel like you do have. And again, I still don't know if you do believe that there is relevant data to prove that there stands dependent. But from what me and you've talked so far, even if you say some like, well, there are some which do not have this normative strength or normative force, like take like for abortion cases or generally cases in applied ethics, like death penalty, gun violation, and those types of things, which you do not have um, motivational, the same motivational property or like normative force for. I could just tell you something like, well, moral facts are not the types of things which are kind of like that we like invented, some that we discover rather, and then you have no counter argument to that because I could just tell you, well, given that type of account or that type of view, it's just gonna be the case that we could or we even probably will if we do discover them, we probably would feel these or we will feel these normative for or this normative force for these types of claims. So if it's just that, then I really do not think it matters for the number of propositions. I deadass forgot what you said for the rest of the part because I wanted to refute something. I forgot what it was, so I deadass let it slide. But if there is something else you wanna say on that, sure. And again, I can still give you the hypothetical that I wanted to give you to show you how it's like how it can lead to probability. But if you don't have that, if you don't need it, it's completely fine. You can just like continue with what you wanted.
Okay, you said something about the moral proposition having motivation, and in virtue of this, it stands independent.
Yeah, I think I was talking about that.
Yeah, what
If I
specifically
understood,
were you saying?
yeah, if you understood me, I think you did. But it was just saying like I was responding to your number. It depends on the number of propositions that I do believe would not that I do believe would be stance independent, but like number of propositions that are more likely, because there are some propositions that this normative force for. But I again I just said to that I was just responding to that. But you can definitely say something like well, there are moral propositions for like the moral facts. We don't like invent them; we discover them. So we will probably, if we do discover them, we'll probably feel the same normative force for those that we currently do not have the same normative force for like abortion cases, death penalty, gun violation, something like that.
Okay,
But then you won't have a counter argument to like the proposition thingy that you wanted to um actually point out.
well, it's unclear to me why I wouldn't have a counter argument because of that.
Because then it falls apart because I can just say, well, there are some currently, there is probably many, but it still wouldn't matter because I can just say that we don't feel them because we haven't discovered the truth yet. The same way, like, you take like a proposition like God exists and God doesn't exist, right? Currently, we don't have the type of truth like that. There is definitely truth. He either exists or he doesn't. But currently, you don't have the type of truth for that. And when you do have an access to whether he exists or he doesn't exist, when you do gain that access, you would probably feel way more motivated to the whether he exists or he doesn't, depending on what type of truth we discover, right? But currently, you don't feel that normative force because you currently don't have the same data for those claim for that type of claim. Well, that would be the same thing here, just like in terms of moral propositions.
Yeah, I just don't think that this gives an adequate response. I mean, you can save the record if
To
you
what
want.
specifically?
So what I said before regarding the refutation to why is the case that the inductive case that you're given holds up.
Yeah, and again, because you said that it
Well,
depends on the
like
number of
you don't need to
propositions.
you don't need to repeat it if you like. It's fine.
I mean, I won't repeat it. I'll just tell you simpler. But it's like you said
No,
that it depends on the
you
number
don't
of
need to like
propositions,
you don't need to
right?
simplify or anything.
Okay,
Like
sure. Then is there something else you want to talk about? Because Riza wanted to talk to me about like something, but I don't know what it
No,
was.
I can give responding here. I'm just saying, like, I think that the conversation is like a little redundant now.
Oh man, damn. But yeah, man.